As the second anniversary for JP winds down, I believe it's time that we come in and rate this anniversary. I will be using my advanced knowledge in gacha game anniversaries, that being only D-Bale and Dokkan. But that is besides the point here. We will be hoping to rate the quality of this anniversary. So, like, subscribe, comment if you stand by this rating or not, and let's get to it. All right, so we will be using a scale of out of 10. It will be any number out of 10, but that is the scale we will be rating. And we will be using the first anniversary this game has had and the 1.5 ANNI this game has had as well as a reference point. And there will be 3 deciding factors in going into this rating here. It will be hype, character design, and quality of events. With hype is just like, it's the thing that carries most anniversaries. There's character design / uniqueness, and then quality of events / free rewards as well. This scale like that I'm using here, hype is usually like 50% of the 50% going into the rating. And then the other two are like 25. It could be like 40 30 if that's how you feel, if hype isn't as big of a deal to you. But I would say that hype does carry a lot of major anniversaries in gacha games. So using that, we will first dive deep into the hype aspect of this anniversary. Hype is the GOAT of anniversaries, you could say. Hype is the thing that carries the game, honestly. If there is no hype, there is no anniversary. That's how it works in these type of gacha games. You have to bring the hype if you're a gacha game. It is a must to have. So with this game, they started off really strong here, right? They did reveals. I like when gacha games do reveals. When it's anniversary, doing reveals is basically a must. They dropped some hints, some second anniversary type stuff, and then we finally got reveals. And in reveals, they dropped not 1, but 2 characters. Now, that is pretty hype, you know? They're both Black Flash units. These 2 units looked insanely cool during the reveals. And the thing with dropping 2 units in one part is it's not good for cubes, but it's really good for hype, because you have these 2 crazy units dropping at the same time. It will make it feel like there's so much happening in the game. And these characters, they're like pretty cool. Like, it's Black Flash Yuji and Black Flash Toto. I believe that hopefully that was like enough hype. They also made a rec pit that looks pretty decent as well, but they're both on the same banner. But them dropping at the same time, if they did not drop at the same time, bro, then the hype for this beginning of the anniversary would have not been good, because these 2 units by themselves, I don't think they can carry a part 1. In my previous experiences with gacha games, your part 1 needs to hit like crazy, because the part 1 will decide the rest of the anniversary. And them dropping 2 units for a part 1, combining them basically, that basically did it. That I feel like they had a strong start with that. And then we'll be getting into like the free rewards for this part later. But that part right there, that first part, was really good for the game, for the hype that they needed to generate there. Also, with going in with hype, another thing that brings a lot of that hype is summon animations. When you summon the character, do you get like a good animation? Is there an animation for that unit at all? And that also brings a lot of hype, because like if you see that unit and you get that unit pulled, you will be extremely excited and you will have a summon animation. One thing that this anniversary is missing though is like summon animations in terms of when you're actually summoning. I wish they would make more, because right now the only like guaranteed SSR guaranteed new SSR is Gojo, and the Black Flash for just a regular SSR. I wish there's more like variations of animations, because there's not really that many for a gacha game like this. There needs to be a little bit more. So if they had implemented this in this anniversary, that would have definitely got a lot more hype as well. which is great. Another thing that goes in with art with hype is the art aspect, and the art is really good as well, dude. I think the art's pretty cool. They're both in their Black Flash state. The animations and whatnot just look good, dude. So that first part, I would probably give like an 8 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10. Just honestly 8 or a 9 out of 10 in terms of hype alone. Okay, part 2 now. Part 2 is the definition of hype by the unit you pick. Because dropping 2 units in a part 1, that's hype, all that good stuff. But this drop right here was simply because it was Sukuna, bro. It's a 10 out of 10. It's a 10 out of 10 simply because it's Fuga Sukuna, and because of the incredible animation that they used. Now, a thing that Loki drops points for this part of Anniversary is simply the fact that it got leaked. Now, the leak is kind of just not good for gacha games in general, because it really does drop the hype for that unit if you found out what it is. But I feel like people tried to do a good job of not letting it spread, but at the end of the day, it still happened. People found out. So that drops the hype per se. But yo, the art, the animations of Sukuna, the finishing kill that he gets whenever he like defeats some event or something like that, all of those animations are so good. The hype for this unit in this part it's got to be a 10 out of 10. It just has to be a 10 out of 10. And then the wreck bit looks cold too. Like, they went all out in terms of hype alone. Notice we're only going over hype so far, guys. I will get to the other stuff in a second. Now, part 3, the part 3 is where they fell off a cliff. But before we even get to part 3, I would say part 3 is like a 5 out of 10. I mean, they dropped a hint, but the hint wasn't really like a hint. It was mad obvious. It told us that we're getting a unit in 2 days, and it told us that it's going to be Mahito. And it was a kind of pseudo Black Flash Mahito, something like that. Our first transforming unit, though. So that is something that's pretty good. So I will take that. But like, in terms of hype, not gonna lie, they kind of did him dirty here. Like, we didn't really get a reveals for him. He dropped with no notice. It had only been a week since Sukuna had dropped. So this unit, like, in terms of hype, it just wasn't, he wasn't done right. They kind of failed in that department, I would say. But with hype, I would say combined, it would be like an 8 or 9 out of 10 in terms of how they did this anniversary in terms of hype alone. But now let's get into the second part of this video. Coming in strong for the second part here, we have character design. And character design is also a very important thing that carries anniversaries here. It goes hand in hand with hype because it generates hype. If the character is really good, that also generates hype, unless it's like a boring character, which is why hype is rated more than character design, is what I would say. I also put character designs as uniqueness. We will go over that in a second as well, the uniqueness aspect of character design. But I will be going over every unit. No, I will not be going over their kits. I'll just give a very basic overview just to get a feel of how these units were designed. Now, for part 1, I think they did a pretty good job designing these units, like kit wise. We'll get to the whole color thing in a second here. But with part 1, we first got red Yuji and green Toto, and the character design for these units was honestly pretty good. All right, so these 2 units are immediately the best in the game. The thing with anniversaries is if the units that you drop are not top 5 in the game, then like the anniversary almost just dies on the spot, because those units need to be good. And I would say these units, when they dropped, were like top 3 actually, because red Yuji was insane DPS, and for him, character design wise, I really like how they designed his kit. I like the whole nimble state, savage states. That is very interesting. With anniversaries, you are trying to create characters that are hype, but also unique. That's what I put character design / unique in the beginning of this video. And I feel like Red Yuji, in terms of how he's designed, is extremely unique because of how he can switch how he's fighting, and in terms of raw damage that he does, and how he built up his ult. In terms of Green Toto, he is also very unique. They did him really well, I would feel. He might not be as unique as Red Yuji in the fact that he doesn't really have as new stuff that he does, but like all the follow-ups and all that stuff, that just gives him a new fresh feel that differentiates him from any other Toto unit in the game, and just any unit in the game in general. I feel like in terms of character design and uniqueness, they did really well in this part. But another thing that goes into character design is simply their color. In gacha games, there are colors and teams, right? And how these units fare in their right team also affects how these units are viewed and how they will be viewed in the future. And this is where they drop the ball. And this becomes a problem later in this whole thing here. Red Yuji did not need to be Red Yuji. I loved his character design. I loved the uniqueness of his kit. But the fact that they made him red kind of just ruined it a little bit. Because red is a color that does not really need taijutsu units, guys. It does not need melee-based units because we already have 2 of them. He will probably be needed later when the game gets harder. But for right now, him being red kind of just dropped the hype from him a little bit. And just like the overall how people feel about part 1, him just being red just left a bad taste in people's mouths. But he's still a really good unit. Him being red kind of messes that up, but hopefully this doesn't show up in the next part, right? Anyway, Green Toto here, great pick. They did everything right with him. Everybody was more hyped for him than Red Yuji, that's for sure. Because his character design was incredible. And his color was actually good because he pairs with Green Yuji. They're just a perfect pairing, dude. He's actually just great. And since he has universal buffs, he can be used on any team technically. So he's just a great unit color-wise, just good character design. I would say for part 1, I would give them an 8 or 9 out of 10. It could have been a 10 out of 10, but the fact that he's red simply just hurt. The fact that Red Yuji's red, it just simply hurts their goals there. For part 2, Sukuna, in terms of character design, he's not that unique, honestly. He does have some different things, like having to use 2 skills before you can use the ult, and only being able to ult solo. That is pretty cool. He's also gets ult really fast and does a ton of damage. We can't say that there's not units that are like him, but he's just an insane unit in terms of damage. So the fact that he's so cool to people, the fact that he was so cool, and the fact that he was easily the number 1 in the game did carry him in terms of character design. He wasn't the most unique character, but sometimes all you need is that strength to carry this segment. But another thing, the problem that arises with this boy Sukuna is the fact that he's yellow. They did it 2 times in a row. I don't understand how they did it 2 times in a row, but they made him yellow. The one color we did not need. We would have happily taken a red Jujutsu. We needed a red Jujutsu unit. It was we just needed that, right? Honestly. That make Yuji something else and drop Sukuna as a red unit, and it would have been perfect. But no, he's yellow. And this also left a bad taste in people's mouth. But since he's Sukuna, they kind of let it slide. But it does suck that he is yellow, because now that's 2 out of the 3 units in Anniversary that are simply just not needed in right now. In the present, they're not needed, which is a problem for Anniversary. You can't do that. You just can't do that because it kind of just makes the Anniversary look worse. But hopefully, when the units that Sukuna and Yuji are meant to replace fade out, this anniversary will probably look better in the future. Because like in the future, this anniversary is probably gonna look really good, because you're not gonna be thinking about in the present day where we still had hidden inventory Gojo and Toji and Nimble Yuji. In the future, these units will probably look better than they do right now, so that is something to hold on to. So in terms of character design for part 2, I would give this like a 6 out of 10 or a 5 out of 10, because even though he's really cool and in the hype aspect he's really insane, his design overall is like not that crazy. He's a pretty basic unit, but I would still give him a 6 out of 10 because he is simply just number 1 in the game immediately, just off rip. Him being yellow also hurts, but he is still number 1 in the game off rip the second he was dropped. In terms of damage, by the way, guys, not in terms of anything else, just in terms of damage. And now we head into part 3, and we got Red Mahito. In terms of character design, this one is easily a 9 out of 10. This man simply does everything. The color pick, honestly, I feel like any color could have worked. We needed red though. So him being mixed and everything, he's a 9 out of 10 or even a 10 out of 10, because number 1, we needed him, right? We actually needed him. Number 2, he is extremely unique because he's our first transforming unit. And number 3, he's just gold. He looks good, okay? So in terms of character design, this man, he has it all, bro. He simply has it all. So rating it overall, I would say a 7 or 8 out of 10 in terms of character design. Honestly, might stick with 7 or even 6, because the coloring was really bad up until part 3, which really kind of sucks for this game that the coloring was this bad. But it's time for our final one. Let's go. The final most important thing for an anniversary is simply the quality of life in the game, the quality of the events, the free items, how much you can grind. That it's simply like the next most important thing here. And with this game, I would say they tried. They didn't really drop new events. We got a Maharaga raid at the end of anniversary. That's honestly all I could say new that we got. That's about it. Just a Maharaga raid. In terms of free units, free cubes, free tickets, looking at it like without knowing the timeline, you would say like the amount of stuff that we got, like all those free tickets that we got, those codes, the cubes, all that, it's really good. You could say they got an A+, you know? But then when you look at the pacing of the game and you notice like they were dropping these units back to back to back, it's just not enough. They did not do enough in terms of free rewards. That's why this segment right here, it's a simple segment. Don't have to talk much about it. It's only going to be like a 5 out of 10, because it simply sucks how they gave out the free rewards. I feel like we needed a little bit more with how fast they were pumping out these units. I don't know why they had to drop Mahito now, but they did, so there's nothing we can do about that. I wish this game gave a little bit more free rewards, a little bit more cool events and stuff like that. We got a standard banner update, but they fumbled that as well, because a lot of people were looking for Yellow Shoko and it did not happen. I think there was another standard banner unit that we wanted, but that didn't happen as well. This standard banner batch update was smaller than we wanted it to be. It was still good, but like it could have been better, if you know what I'm saying. It could have been better. So trying to rank this anniversary as a whole, I would say it's a 7 out of 10. It's a very solid 7 out of 10. It could get better though. It could get better. They could do better next time, you know? I feel like they did do better than the first anniversary. First anniversary, you know, it's the first dip in the pond for real. So you can't really blame them for what they did in first anniversary. 1.5 anniversary was bad. It just wasn't good. And this anniversary, I would say, is pretty good. Now, one problem that I do want to mention before we close out this video is I don't like how they're doing these units. Like 1.5 anniversary was hidden inventory arc anniversary basically, because it didn't really feel like an anniversary. It just felt like they were just dropping units from that specific part. And then now it was just Shibuya anniversary, a specific part of Shibuya anniversary. That's all it really felt like. And I wish they like had more variety spread out the years more. Hopefully they don't continue to do this, because it's starting to get a little bit annoying. In most gacha games, you want to spread out the arcs. I understand that Jujutsu Kaisen only has 2 seasons, but once we get season 3, I don't want an anniversary where it's only a certain part of season 3 units. You understand what I'm saying? I want it to be more spread out. So I'm hoping that this unit can get better. So that's probably going to be it. If you did like this video and you enjoyed it thoroughly, please drop whatever you think in the comments and subscribe to the channel, bro. Join the journey. Almost at 100 subscribers. I've been doing pretty well, I feel like. But I'll see you guys in the next one. This video took forever. Peace.